Okay, welcome back. This video is on an example problem for doing decision analysis. So hopefully you've read the problem statement and you can see that we're trying to pick between, I think it's 6 courses to decide which is the best elective for us to take. And to help kind of cut through some of the differences, I went ahead and listed some things that we have mandatory for our decision and some things that I thought we would want. So that way we can all kind of work from the same platform, just as this example. Obviously, when you apply this technique to your problem in the real world, you have a little more control over the wants, their weights, and their ratings. So let me share my screen with you and we'll start the problem. So this is, don't worry about the page number, but this is going to be decision analysis choosing an elective. So here's the matrix that we have. You can see we have 2 requirements, mandatory requirements for our classes. We want to make sure that the course is inexpensive and that it's at least 3 hours credit. So I don't have the course descriptions in the slide, but you have them at home. So you notice that we have 3 courses. 2 are easy to pick off immediately. You'll notice that Music 101, Music Appreciation, is only 2 hours, and that Music 205, the piano performance course, are also 2 hours. So those are no-go on the 3 hours. The other courses are all 3-hour courses. The other mandatory for me was cost. And there was one course that was expensive. I believe it was Art 203, which is the photography course. So that comes out this way. Again, music was not 3 hours. Art 101 was 3 hours and not expensive. The history course, same. And there's the art course, the no-go on the inexpensive. So Art 203 had a lot of expenses for supplies. And then the geology course was a go-go, and of course we already mentioned the music was a no-go. So right away I've reduced 6 of these courses to just a subset of 3. Now the things that I want in a course, and you might agree with this, is a good grade. Interesting, I just don't want to waste my time. I want the course to be interesting. And then of course a low time commitment. Everybody wants to have a good grade, be excited, and not have to work too hard. So I've rated these things in terms of weights this way. So I thought a good grade was about the middle of the pack. For me, it was more important that the course was interesting than just the fact that I can get a good grade. And the number one thing for me was time commitment. So I'm looking for a class that I don't have to spend much time on, almost 2-to-1 to a good grade. So I'd be willing to take an average grade, a B or a C, and not have to do anything, than work a lot and have to get an A. So those are my rankings. You might think differently, and you can apply that here. So moving on, I went to the Art 101 class, and when I looked at that, the description was about the great masters of music. It's a boring course. It's quite easy and easy to get a good grade. So in terms of good grade, I gave it an 8 because it's very likely to get a good grade. I'm not interested in that kind of music, and with the lecturer being boring, I gave it a very low score on interest, not interesting to me. Remember, 10 meets that weight, and the lower scores do not. And then finally, it's the perfect low commitment course. I moved on to the next one. Oh, I got a total, so weight times rating. I left out the intermediate calculation, but hopefully if you do that, you'll get a 164 or something like that for your art. So I moved on to the history course. Now that history course, the 201 history, personally, I really like history. And this particular course, the instructor makes the material really come alive. So it's much harder to get a good grade. In fact, they say the time commitment's equivalent to a 5-hour course. And it's difficult to see as an average. It's really difficult to get a good grade. So I said, yeah, it's low compared to 101. So when I compare these two ratings, it's going to be twice as hard to get a good grade in the art class. But I love art. I love history. I really do. So that's number one for me. And then in terms of time commitment, it's going to be twice as much time. So again, I made the score about half as much. So I try to make those judgments relative to one another. And then when you do that score, oops, sorry, I went the wrong way. Pardon me. I got 154. So right away, my bias is eliminated. I really love this history course. I would love to do that. But to be fair to my decision analysis, it looks like the 101 course is going to be a better course for me in terms of the things that I've set up. So the last course is the geology course. And here's my ratings for this. In terms of good grade, again, it's if you read the description of Geology 101, it's kind of an intermediately interesting lecture, typical normal amounts of homework. It's got some big out of class trips, take up about a week of class. So in terms of getting a good grade, it's not as hard as the history, but it's not anywhere close to the art class. In terms of interest, my interest is kind of in the middle. I could go either way. Art is my number one. History is my number one. That art appreciation, music appreciation class is really low. And then in terms of time commitment, it's about the same as the history. It's going to take some time, not only out of class, but in class or to be successful. So when I do that value, I get 128. So for me, according to my analysis, the best class for me to take is the one I have the least interest in. And that's interesting note, because I set up that time commitment was my biggest weight, then that art class is going to be the easiest one for me to get an A, even though I'll probably fall asleep. And I'm sure you've had classes where you may have fallen asleep in. For the criteria that I set up, it's the best course. All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen and come back to you. So that's a typical way of doing a decision analysis. Obviously, if it's an engineering decision and you're looking at different designs, this criteria can be quite more complicated and advanced. The metric for the analysis could be more objective and less subjective, but the process is the same. So let me know if you have any questions about this. Until next time, be safe and take care.